can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. We got Jay in the middle. Bo is still out in Hawaii doing his thing. And we also got Dustin, the stat guy, in with us again today. He's going to be in here for a little bit, so you're going to be able to see him more frequently. He's going to be a more frequent guest as we enlighten our show or enlarge our show to all different types of situations. So. And, of course, I went and I checked the news, and the first thing I saw is that the Vikings don't have a running back anymore. Madison got dropped.
Yeah, we do. We got Ty Chandler.
So you still got Ty Chandler. I guess you're not upset about the fact that Madison got dropped.
I'm very happy that he got dropped. I wanted him dropped last year.
There you go. So Vikings starting things off with the bang. The Eagles got rid of Byard. They gave up a 4th and a 5th round pick for. He was an all-pro safety, only had 1 interception, had 75 tackles in 10 games that he played, and that frees up $14 million of cap space for the Eagles in that regard. How much cap space are you getting with Madison?
I think 6.25, something like that.
That's not too bad. And the Cowboys still are over the cap.
Yeah, even with the bump, we're still over. I don't know what Jerry's going to do. They got to get super creative. I don't know what can you do. I mean, can you go back and they're going to maybe restructure some people, see if they can put some money on the back end to get underneath?
I'm going to say that they are probably going to wind up restructuring Dak.
Yeah,
that they don't have a choice. That they absolutely are going to have to restructure Dak because. They got to defer about $30 million of his money.
Right. And that's a lot of damn money to defer.
It is a lot of money.
That's a lot of cabbage.
Yeah, that's kicking the can down the lane.
Oh, I mean, at some point they're going to have to deal with it. At some point, and I wonder how that's going. And then, but if they are deferring the future money, how is that going to play the Cowboys' ability down the road to maneuver? I mean, they're going to have to really. There's going to have to be a lot of craziness. They're not going to be able to go after the people maybe they want to go after because they just don't have the money because of the deferred. I don't know. I think Jerry will probably spend the money regardless and do it anyway. I don't know.
Well, are they still? I got to imagine, and I haven't looked at Stat Tracker or anything like that, or Cap Tracker or whatever that is, to find out. Are they still paying for Zeke?
God, that's a thing. I don't know. I really don't know on that one.
Our stat guy will probably find it much faster than anybody.
Yeah,
else.
I think last year was the last year, but I'll double check.
I mean, shit. I mean, he's out of the league. I mean, he's been gone for he was with New England for about a year. I don't even remember how long.
Only a year. He was only gone for 1 year. I mean, this is the first year you haven't had him. So
they technically are. They had when they released him last year, they took on the remaining $16.7 million, but they split it over 2 years. So it's basically just 8 years per year as opposed to $16.7 million in 1 year. So they still owe him $8.3 million this year.
Okay.
And then Jerry Jones has to take all these now paternity tests. So, I mean, it's going to be a great time for Jerry Jones.
Oh, right, we haven't got there yet, that guy. Don't blow the proverbial what. We'll get to that.
Let's talk about that for a half a second.
Are you ready to talk about that? Because rich
paternity
people do
tests,
rich people things, and then they try to
He's
put
got
it
a.
up
He's got
really
a.
well.
Is he setting up franchises out there? Is that what happened?
Maybe a lingerie football league. I don't know.
I have not read the whole story, but I did see the cursor before he came on the show where it said Jerry Jones. I guess there's a girl out there that's saying that she's his daughter, and yeah. Hey, they always say where every one cockroach that comes out, there's probably a few more that are out there. I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry's got a few other kids out there too. I don't think
Well,
she'd be the only one.
no doubt in my mind. I mean, hey, didn't we? Yeah, isn't there a big rumor going around that Jimmy Buckets is Michael Jordan's kid?
Oh, could you imagine? That would explain a
Okay.
lot.
There we are. There we are. Talking Bo checking in.
The odds are high.
The odds, that's absolutely. There's a good chance that there's a few of the ladies out there, or a few of even some gentlemen out there that may have a resemblance to Jerry Jones. I got to imagine that's really the case. Ultimately, they're just trying to get on the payroll, just like everybody else. They're just trying to get on the payroll. So, and Rob giving you the big surfs up over there. Why aren't you riding the waves already at 7 o'clock in the morning over that way? So, but welcome, Rob. Good to see you. Uh, you know, Stat Guy came up with
Yeah.
an idea that I wanted to talk about first thing. I figured let's just throw it out there. We'll talk in the second hour how my hurling experience went. But uh, Stat Guy Dustin over there believes that maybe it's time for each team to actually have a sub team, like a AAA team or a feeder team. And I'm going to ask Jay, what do you think about that first? Actually, no. Before we go there, Dustin, why don't you go into a better explanation, fighting your argument on this?
Because if you look at how things are set up in the sports world, the NFL is literally the only one of the four major sports that does not have a minor league system. The NBA has the G League. The NHL has the AHL, the ECHL, and a couple other kind of feeder programs. And then obviously baseball has their minor league system, AAA through AA, single A, and so forth. The NFL has nothing. Yes, you have the UFL right now in the spring, but that's only an 8-team league, and how many of those players actually latch on to an NFL team? And then you see with the NFL, how many times you see like the NFL signing all these players to practice squad rosters and this and that. Why even have a practice squad roster? Instead of using these practice squad rosters, I think the NFL should come up with like can't call it the G League, obviously, but some sort of like a feeder league where every NFL team has like a minor league team that's basically filled out with their practice squad roster. You can still run the same plays that you would run with the NFL team. You can still run the same stuff that you would do in practice, but it's giving these practice squad guys in-game action with a chance to latch on to the NFL team once the NFL season starts. So you could essentially run their season, let's just say April into July when training camp starts. If they perform well over those 3 months, they sign the training camp deal, and then they can make the NFL roster right when the preseason starts in August.
See, here's my problem with it, because out of everything that you've mentioned, and there lies the problem. You got the AAA, AA, and single A all playing during the same time as the season, as the regular season.
Mhm.
So you have in the same situation for the G League, goes in the same time as the NBA, and same thing with hockey. Hockey happens at the same time. The reason why you can't have these leagues happen, you can't have them happen in April through July, because ultimately everybody on the practice squad's a free agent. If you were going to have this NFL light, as Bo called it, I think that you would need to have it happen at the exact same time, so that you want these guys in football shape and they get called up to the big league, not during the spring, and not having that feeder team, because if they're not playing, if they don't make it to the big roster, then all it is now they're sitting around cold.
So
If
would you
they're
be would you be opposed to doing it June into August then? Because June is typically when minicamp starts. You could start the season in June, run it June, July into August. That way, if these players do get called up, then it's basically they're still in the swing of things for training camp and everything else.
I think you'd almost have to have it from the season starting in August and ending in November.
I'd be fine with that too. And that was kind of another thing I was going to talk about, maybe on a different show, but we can bring it up now. Instead of having Thursday night football the way we have it now, with how it's on or Amazon Prime now, if you wanted to do something like that, make Thursday night football like the NFL Light Showcase, and have one of their games every week showcased on Thursday night, or have a game showcased on Wednesday night and Thursday night, and have that league kind of get the attention on Wednesday and Thursday night, and then keep the NFL on like Saturday, Sundays, and Mondays. Because the viewership on Thursday night football isn't necessarily the greatest. The games last year were for the most part terrible. The quality on Amazon Prime wasn't great. So if you want to have stuff on Thursday night, let the feeder teams take center stage on Wednesday and Thursday, because then the entire nation is getting to watch some of these players on like these minor league teams, and then once they get called up, they'll have some familiarity with some of these players.
So, in theory, what you're asking is for the UFL to take place not in the spring, not have this spring football, and take place. You'd have to move it down because, again, you want these games going on at the same time. I think you're flooding the market with football. You know what I mean? And I think that that's part of the problem there. It's like college is going to start to get in the way because the colleges, you would have to enlarge the draft probably back to 12 rounds, because you would need to be able to pick guys in that feeder program, so that you wouldn't seven draft picks would no longer really, in basketball you only need one draft pick, because once you get into the second round it's all G League stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Very rarely does somebody getting picked in the second round pan out to become an NBA player. Doing that same thing here. Really, after the fifth round, you're picking G League players or
potential future
F-Leagues
potential possible guys.
Unless of course you're Brock Purdy.
And again, but how many Brock Purdy's really are in that?
I mean, you could say the same with Tom Brady.
Exactly.
I mean, but again, those are the exception. Hey, listen, Jason Kelsey, he was a 6th round pick. You know what I mean? So, I mean, those guys, they happen more frequently because 1st and 2nd round picks all don't become Hall of Famers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there is the exceptions to the rule, but the rule for the most part is, you have a better chance of being an MVP or greats in this league by being a pick higher than the 5th round. In most cases, you have to be a standout in a lot of different ways. That being said, I'm not opposed to having this NFL light, but ultimately, you're now talking about having, I guess, really 100 players under your control. And with the practice squad right now, another team could just pick off of your practice squad. That wouldn't be able to happen anymore. Now you're talking about it like literally. And then my question becomes, how do you stop a team from stockpiling?
I think you'll have like a cap on players where you can only have X amount of players on your practice squad, so you can't stockpile. And I think this kind of gives players some security too, because you look at the practice squad, like how you said, you can just plug up or pick a player up in one practice squad and sign him to another practice squad. Look at Myles Gaskins, for example, this year. He was on the Vikings practice squad 4 separate times. He was on the Rams practice squad twice. He was on the Dolphins practice squad once, and he was on the Ravens practice squad. A player like that just wants to be on one organization, whether it's on the practice squad or not, and just kind of sit there for the year and just kind of wait for an opportunity. It's kind of hard to do that when you're bouncing between practice squad to practice squad to practice squad like every other week, just because a team lost a running back for their Sunday roster and they needed to fill the practice squad. So I think having a cap on the practice squad or limiting not even limiting, but preventing players from getting taken from practice squad to practice squad gives these players some sort of security. They'll obviously be paid financially because you get paid for being on the practice squad, so they'll have some sort of security that they'll be able to be in one specific organization and learn the system in case they are called upon. Because what happens if you're with, we'll say, the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad for 3 weeks, all of a sudden you're about to get called up to the Eagles because DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell all get hurt. But all of a sudden, like 3 days before you're supposed to get called up, the Cowboys say, we want him on our practice squad roster. Now he's sitting back there doing nothing.
Yeah, well, I hear you, but again, once you're on the practice squad, I mean, like I said, you get 15 people on the practice squad now. It's no longer 3.
Yeah.
So they changed that rule, and that rule stayed forever now. So you do actually have more of that, and 45 only dress. Although you have 53 on the roster, 45 are the only ones that dress. So there's a lot that would go involved. And what Robert wrote a whole soliloquy here about how all this, it was like, I thought it was a little bit too much to read, so I'm going to leave it up there for half a second. Ultimately, it would come for the money here. That's the other part of this. So I feel like you have colleges, like the college would get affected by this. That league, that league is, are you going to be able to feed it with younger players? Is it going to take the place of some of these colleges, college teams? I feel like that the problem is that there's too many questions. There are different leagues out there. I know that there's one in Connecticut, like the East, it's like that's like 32 teams, or 38 teams, or 28 teams in a league up there, all playing semi-pro football. I got to imagine there's feeder leagues all over the place.
What I wonder is this: if you have the CFL and the UFL, that's plenty enough time or places for people to get developed in. If I'm a team owner, I'm like, why am I going to pay this guy if it's team light or whatever, and just to sit out there in my developmentals when I can let this other guy pay to get him developed, and I'll just go snatch him up when I want him. To me, I'm paying money when I don't need to pay money. I'm letting them pay the money. Let this guy get the development. Let him get the exposure. And then if I need him, I'll just go pluck him out of the UFL, or I'll go pluck him out of the CFL. You tell me if I'm a player in one of those spaces, I'm not going to go to an NFL team if the team arises. Let somebody else pay for the development. Financially, it doesn't make sense to do that.
It'd be like the same way that minor league baseball operates, though. The major league team owns all those minor league affiliates. They pay the salary cap of the minor league affiliates. So if each NFL team had a feeder program, that NFL
That's actually not true.
They pay a portion of it.
They are part of the chain.
Yeah.
But John Middleton doesn't I think he owns the rights for that team. That's why you see certain teams, like especially with hockey teams, but you do see it in baseball as well, where they change ownerships all the time. It's like, oh, okay, now this team is no longer going to be for the Phillies; they're going to be for the Yankees, or something similar. Like that could be the Mets, or so hockey teams change a lot more frequently.
Yeah.
It's like it used to be the Flyers affiliate when I first started up was the Maine Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became the Hershey Bears. Then it became the Lehigh Phantoms, but it was the Philadelphia Phantoms first, and then the Lehigh Phantoms and such. There was a lot of different times. I think right now the Hershey Bears is part of the Washington franchise. That used to be part of the Penguins franchise. It's so they've floated around all the so many times.
Well, I guess what I was getting at was like, whenever you're underneath that major league affiliate, obviously if you change, you change. But the 4 teams that are underneath that major league team, the Major League Baseball team pays the players in that affiliate. And then Major League Baseball actually pays for the facilities itself. So even if these feeder NFL teams change like from one team to another, if they're attached to an NFL team, that NFL team would ultimately pay the player salary cap portion of it, but the NFL itself would pay for the facilities and everything like that, similar to what minor league baseball does.
And the next question becomes dollars and cents, because ultimately you're
Yep.
doing this and you're hoping that you're going to try to recoup some of this money from people watching games and stuff like that. I mean, the USFL did one thing that you were able to see, was that nobody went to the games when you didn't play in your city.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That was it's like they were playing in front of empty stadiums for the most part, and they couldn't give away tickets. Where are you going to have these guys play? I mean, they're not going to play at Lincoln Financial
No.
Field. It costs $1 million to open that. Just to open the doors and turn the lights on costs $1 million to do that. So, are you going to make $1 million on that football game? No
No,
way.
I think you just put him in.
You'll make a small fraction of that.
I think you just put him in like D2 or D3 fields. If there's like a D2 college or a D3 college in the area, just let him play there, because those stadiums are 5, 6, 7,000 people. Even if you're getting 4,000 people in a stadium, it's still going to make money for that school, and it's still going to at least make enough money for you to play 5 home games, 4 home games, however long you want your season to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would work. Like I said, I think it would also interfere with college football. I think that the UFL, which is now a little bit of a feeder program for the NFL in terms of, these guys are all going to they're all free agents. They're all guys that probably would not have gotten drafted. And so they're all unrestricted free agents that you're able to pull from, that are making a little bit of money, doing this. I mean, obviously, originally the original USFL was a competition thing.
Yeah.
When it became the XFL, the competition portion became, how much different could we be than the NFL? Let's let them put anything on the back of their shirt. Yeah, that guy, he hate me. You know what I mean? He
hate me, Rod Smart.
Yeah, he wound up playing for the Eagles. For a little bit,
and the Panthers for a couple of years too, I think.
So I mean, but those are the things that they were able to do to actually draw some viewership. The UFL, I mean, obviously they can't get themselves really out of Texas. You know what I mean? That's really the problem. It's all middle America of people that only care about football all the time. If they put another football team up here, when they had arena football in Philadelphia, it worked. People would come and watch those games all the time. And they did it they would have the Super Bowl in the place that had the most attendance. And Philly was typically one of the spots all the time. So, I mean, I understand. I just don't know how that would really work. And then, like, how do you deal with the injuries? Like, are they a part of the NFL because they're getting drafted by the NFL? Does it fall into the same collective bargaining agreement? Because right now, it used to be you had to be 4 years in the NFL to get any type of stipend. Now it's you just got to play in one game, and preseason counts. You know what I mean? So ultimately, there are different things that you are able to achieve just by being on the roster. I'm sorry, preseason does not count. I thought it might, but they, no, you have to actually be on the roster for one of the games, or on the practice squad. So there's certain benefits. Now, are all those other players going to get those benefits? That number is going to fluctuate tremendously because of the amount of care. It's like, so it becomes really convoluted, I think. I don't know. I don't know that the NFL wants the liability.
Yeah.
I would even be okay with not even doing like 32 teams, just do 16 and have 2 NFL teams share what team. And then you could put 4 teams out west, so you'd have the AFC West and the NFC West linked to those 4 teams. 4 teams out east, 4 teams kind of in the central north, and then 4 teams in the south. Because then you're not watering down the league.
Now you're talking about a whole different world of problems.
Because that's what they tried to do with the UFL this year. They tried to get it to be 16 teams. They wanted to take the 8 XFL teams and the 8 UFL teams and just put it together for a 16-team league. but they didn't have the financial stability to do that in year one. And they've already said they have 8 teams this year. They're going to 12 teams in 2025, and then their goal is to be 16 teams in 2026. So that's kind of the number they've always wanted to have, is that 16. They just didn't have the financial ability to do that in the first year. And I think if it gets to 16 teams, then you're probably going to have it be more considered the NFL feeder program that Roger Goodell's been talking about. Because he has been talking about the last several years that he wants to have some sort of a feeder program, not necessarily called a feeder program, but he wants to have whatever league is going on in the spring kind of be more closely linked to the NFL, where it's an easier way for players in the spring to get on an NFL team as opposed to how difficult it is now. And I think with 16 teams, that's going to kind of create the opportunity to make it how he wants to make it.
Well, I hear that. I just wonder now. You have the Eagles, and So it would be the Eagles
Eagles
in New England.
or
I'm
the
gonna put
Eagles
it
and
that way.
or the Eagles and Steelers even.
Okay, Eagles and Steelers. That's actually even better. And you have somebody who's on that team who's excelling. Is it first come first serve?
Yep.
Oh, we need him first. It's
I'll bet
like
him.
that.
I'll bet him.
I don't
I just
know. I
think
think that
that's not.
causes
I just thought
so
that that's
many
really,
issues.
yeah,
It's
I
like
do. I see a lot of issues with that. I see a lot of issues.
but I mean, yeah, the idea is okay. I think that there should be something going on where there is uh, players playing football that aren't on practice squads and such like that, so you could kind of see what's going on. The practice squad hides a player,
Yes.
and unless you know enough about that player, you like I said, the Eagles get guys plucked from their practice squad all the time. One that I know of was Villanueva, who got plucked to the Steelers and became their starting left tackle for like 10 years.
Yep.
He was a great player, but was on the Eagles practice squad. And we happened to have, a John Runyon, that was there, that he's just not,
Yeah.
he wasn't ready to get above. And now all of a sudden he got plucked away, and ultimately he becomes the starting guy, and we get no compensation for that. So,
Yeah. Talk
I,
about a loss with no compensation in return. That's a huge one.
yeah. And then thinking about, like, all right, so you have the 16 teams and you draft a guy and he's on that team. And so he's on that team for 2 years, and because ultimately they have to be 1 year contracts. You're drafting him to be on that team, and now you got two different teams going at him. At what point is it like, all right, we want this guy? It's like, do you have the rights to him? How long do you have the rights for? And that's where a lot of the rules that we don't see about football come into play. There are a lot of NFL rules that never make it onto the field, and that's the rule book that I think would be the hardest part to come up with.
Yeah.
I just say with there's enough leagues out there right now, NFL, that they can draft from for a feeder program, that they really don't have to go out and invent one. But like you said, practice squad, UFL, XFL, CFL, all this stuff, I think there's plenty enough of it that I don't know that would ever. If it does, I don't think it's gonna be anytime soon. They're gonna have to develop that. I mean, baseball, like you said, basketball, even those are different sports. It's easier to make those types of changes or feeder programs.
Well, and I'm reading this from Robert here. That's exactly what happened, Robert. They realized, first off, that 3 on the practice squad wasn't cutting it, especially that was around COVID. There's too many people that get hurt. You're finding too many guys off of practice squads, and they were finding that these guys aren't playing. They're not keeping in shape. So the practice squad became a little bit of all right, we'll let these guys be in here. We'll give them the ability to work out with a team and such like that, so that you are able to keep them in shape, rather than calling them off of the scrap heap that's been sitting around on the couch eating bonbons and stuff like that. So they're not. That was the reason part of the reason why increasing it to 15 people. So,
And I guess the other thought too, and now that I just thought about kind of what you said a couple minutes ago, and how you were saying like if they did this, like where would these teams play? Because you have to look at how much it would cost just to like turn the lights on and things like that. And how you brought up like having the season start in like June or July or whatever. That's when I think you could see soccer stadiums be used. You already see it with the DC Defenders using DC United Stadium, Audi Field. We'll throw the Philadelphia Stars in there, for example, who were in the USFL last year but didn't get the UFL call this year. They could use Philadelphia Union Stadium because all these stadiums would be active right now for soccer games. They would still have everything there for accommodations. Everything there would be already lined up and already being paid for. And
yeah,
soccer,
but it's a different turf. It's such a
it
different
is.
turf.
It is.
So
But I'm just talking
it's
like stadium size though too. You're looking at 15 to 20,000 people per venue, where even if only 10, 11,000 people show up, it's still going to look like a fairly good sized crowd as opposed to 11,000 people showing up in a 70,000 people stadium and all you see is empty seats.
yeah, that looks like a Temple game when they play at the link. It
Yeah.
looks like they have 3,500 people there, and it's, if you don't have the cardboard cutouts, that stadium looks very, very empty.
Yeah.
But I yeah, now you're talking about the soccer stadiums being okay with the fact that they're going to be shifting, that stuff. I know that the union would probably not be interested just
Well, they,
because,
yeah.
just because of the pitch and the way that is really set up. I mean, it's kind of set up for that, but they don't really have like sidelines for football there.
Mhm.
It's not really equipped to do that. I'm sure they could make it happen, but if
Oh
it's not
yeah, they can
built that
remark those
way, it's
fields. I mean, it may cost them a little bit of money to remark them, but they can remark them. But to
well,
your point, Pax,
it's
is
not
it
the
really
mark.
worth
It's
it though? Is it really financially feasible to do that? Because you may be spending more money to remark the field than probably what you're going to draw in a crowd with, like you said, the lights and everything else that it takes to operate the stadium. It may not be financially feasible.
I almost feel like it'd be easier to try to do it at a real high school stadium.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I
Like,
was thinking. Like even out here in Texas, like all of our high school stadiums, like I know North Shore football stadium, you could easily put 8 to 10,000 people
Mhm.
in that stadium, and it's a nice, qualified stadium. I mean, you could absolutely run college games there. You could run, like you said, if you want to do a feeder league, you could run feeder league games there, and it probably wouldn't cost you nearly as much. I can
it,
see that actually, and it might be good for the city itself, or the school districts themselves that are having to run these. It would give them a source of passive income coming in to offset some of their costs. So, I mean, it could be good for the city as well to do that, or the taxpayers, I should say, to do that.
yeah, it's just, but I think about that, and maybe in Texas they actually have more high school stadiums than normal. You know what I mean? But there's not, in this area, there's not many high school stadiums. You
And
know what I
that's
mean? And
true.
you
I
need
mean, I don't know
stadium.
what the rest of the country looks like, so I don't know how. I guarantee you, man, all over Houston, you'll see multi-million-dollar high school stadiums. I mean, they
Yeah.
really, I mean, they do. They spend a lot of money, in Texas for their football. Now, I'm sure if you go out in some of the lower line areas, they're not as, but all the major cities have big-time stadium for high school. But like you said, Pags, I mean, you go out in the Midwest, maybe let's say Nebraska or someplace like that. They probably just have your generic high school bleachers or whatever, and that is the field.
Yeah, like I mean, what you were just saying, Jay, in Canyon, Texas, they have a stadium called Happy State Bank Stadium.
Yeah,
It's a 20,000 seat high school football stadium.
yeah. I mean, it's incredible. The high school stadiums that they're building nowadays it's just stupid.
And the
It looks
largest
like they have college stadiums.
the largest high school stadium in the country is in Hawaii.
Really?
26,000 people at War Memorial Stadium in Wailuki, Hawaii.
Should get Bo to go do an interview over there just so you can see it. Bo, if you're listening, run over to Waikiki.
I think that's on the main islands. I don't know. So I just, the idea sounds good on paper. I'm not even sure that the UFL is going to make it. You know what I mean? The one thing that
Yeah.
we've learned about is that football, off season, although it gets a little bit of ratings, ain't doing what you think it's doing. And it's
Yeah.
that. I guess that's the reason why they have it in Texas, is because they have people spending ridiculous amounts of money
Mhm.
in the high school feeding program and shit like that. So immediately you have, all right, we got the stadiums down here. They ain't being used. So 20,000 people in a football, hockey, or yeah, a high school football stadium. You know what I mean? To watch the NFL light or UFL isn't such a bad idea. But
Right. And I wonder, and you're right. And to that extent, I wonder how well the UFL is going to do, because, I mean, when they're competing with, I guess they'll be competing with what, baseball, basketball, kind of whatever. I mean, how are they going to compete with the TV ratings and things like that when, you got all these other sports going on at the
they
same
get
time?
they get started around the hockey and basketball
They
playoffs.
always put it on Saturdays and Sundays, and they always, when you remember, if you look back at the XFL schedule last year and the USFL schedule last year, all their games were Saturday and Sunday. They had 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and they
Okay.
always scheduled it around basketball. So if there was a basketball game on ABC at like 2 o'clock, the Sunday games for the XFL would be 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Like they always scheduled it around when like
Well, then
the
okay,
ESPN
I can see
hockey
how that
schedules
makes
were
sense
going
there,
on.
if that's the case. Okay.
Because the XFL's ESPN owned the XFL's broadcasting rights last year.
Okay.
Fox owned the broadcasting rights for USFL, so they literally just took like at the NASCAR schedule on Fox and said, "Well, NASCAR is going to be 2 to 5 on Sunday. We need to make sure that we have a game after 5 o'clock on Sunday and before 5 o'clock on Sunday." And they just kind of went off of what this Fox schedule was.
Well, doesn't Fox? Oh, yeah, because Fox owns them, don't they? Or they own a part of
Yeah,
them?
Fox owns the USFL. Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
So they just go based off of like when the open time slots are, just to make sure it's not interfering with any of the national broadcasts for like NBA and NHL.
Okay.
Well, I let's see if that actually makes it, because I feel like that it doesn't even have. I'm not even giving it 50-50. I'm giving that like a 37-38% chance, not even 40% that it will succeed. I feel like it's because one, it's all in Texas, so you're too small of a market. It's like you got Houston. I mean, I know they got Memphis and stuff like that, but the region that they're doing this, and I understand why they're doing it, is because they want to localize it so that it's you know little puddle jumpers to get from everywhere. You get
Yeah.
you sign a contract with a puddle jumping airlines and sets up all that so that so you're not bussing it in essence.
Well, I think Texas is a good state to start anything in. To be honest with you, and I don't mean that because I'm proud of my state. I mean, I look at it from an economical standpoint. You got 27 million people in that triangle of cities. Not that all 27 million would be watching, but you probably hopefully maybe get a good portion out of that. But it's also cheaper, I think, to operate because the money goes farther in the state of Texas than it does a lot of other places. I mean, there's no state tax, right? So you're not going to pay any of that. So I think you get more for your money, and you still have a lot of viewership here. And you're obviously going to tag into what, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Arizona, Louisiana, and a lot of that. So I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's why it's a good deal to start here. But they definitely got a branch. They can't just stay here. Like you really have.
They do have to branch. They do have to branch out, and that's kind of why the old XFL from when COVID shut it down. I think they had like the perfect layout for it. You had a team in Los Angeles, you had a team in Seattle, you had your 2 teams in Texas, you had a team in DC, a team in New York, a team in Florida, and then you had a team in St. Louis. So you were covering like the major markets that you wanted to cover, with obviously California, Texas, Florida, and New York. DC's got a big market. DC's got a big market, and then obviously St. Louis, just because they love football in St. Louis. So putting a team in St. Louis there was genius, because you knew it was going to draw well to begin with, and then you control everything in the central portion of the country with that team.
Yeah, St. Louis, but he knew that they're only going to get about 25,000 because they couldn't draw anybody with even a Super Bowl team.
Hey, well, they were averaging 33,000 last year for the XFL.
Right.
They were drawing compared to like 16, 17,000 for everybody else. So I mean, they love their XFL in St. Louis. That's the one market that no matter how many
those are
times,
the Battlehawks, right? Those are
yes, the Battlehawks. Yeah. So no matter how many times spring football changes, that is the one market that I think will always have a team just because of how well they draw.
No, and I can believe that. Like I said, they're not strong enough to actually draw for an NFL team, but for a part-time team, yeah, I never see anything like that. Um, and I got to imagine Birmingham was the same way. That they wanted a pro team in Birmingham. That once the USFL originally stopped, that was the reason why they had everything happen in Birmingham because they do have people that like to go watch football out there.
And they
Uh,
were helped too because the AAF, when the American Alliance football started in 2019, they had the Birmingham Iron. So they actually had the Birmingham Iron down there that was drawing like 30,000, and then once they didn't have a team in the XFL and they brought the Stallions in, they were drawing around 28 to 35,000. So they're seeing that Birmingham, like St. Louis, has like the following to draw very well, but they just will not ever be able to get like 60, 70,000 people for an NFL stadium. They like their football, but it doesn't have the following enough where you would support the NFL team. Because when you think of Alabama, it's Alabama football. That's what they follow down there. So even if you had an NFL team down there, Crimson Tide would still be number one over that football team. It wouldn't matter.
right. But so, see, this is where I would think, okay, but if you're going to do it like that, you better, again, you got St. Louis, you got Birmingham, you got Texas. I guess you could put one in Albuquerque, New Mexico, since they don't have really any football over there. You could put one in each one of the Portlands because they don't have football there. But now as you spread out, it's more money to get everywhere.
Yep.
And that's really what it comes down to. So it's like, how are you going to get point A to point B? That was the one smart thing I thought the USFL did in season 1 was put them all in the same stadium. It'll suck. Put them all in the same stadium, and people that want to come down and watch. Let's have the Super Bowl at the Hall of Fame. And you know what? That's where I was. I was at when the Stars went there. I was there against Birmingham, and it was, we watched a football game and it was fun. The USFL was terrible with the merchandise. Terrible. Like I wanted to buy a jersey. I wanted to buy a USFL, Philadelphia Stars jersey. Couldn't do it. I got a T-shirt, a gray T-shirt that said Philadelphia Stars on it. I'm like, this is the best you guys could do.
I could have made it on my whole
I mean, literally, I could have had something made for me better. It was like really like this is the mistake you guys are making here. Like you guys are in the right spot here. You have a captive audience. I know that a lot of those people were from Canton, Ohio, and that I was the rare one that went from Philadelphia over July 4th to Canton, Ohio to go watch the USFL Super Bowl. And
yeah. I remember, and I love the Gamblers. When we had the Gamblers, I loved our uniforms. I loved everything about it. I kind of bought it a little bit into the Roughnecks. Not a bad gig.
I like the original Roughnecks when they had PJ Walker. The uniforms that the Roughnecks had last year were freaking trash.
Yeah, I didn't see them was there last year, but I missed that one. But
it was just a Texas flag on the helmet where the bottom half of the helmet was blue, this side was white, and this side was red. Didn't even have like a Roughnecks logo. Didn't even have like anything on it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm getting into that. That's kind of
the old Roughnecks logo when PJ Walker was there was like the silver helmet.
Has a Montreal Expos vibe to it.
The silver helmets with the old like Houston Oilers logo in the middle with just a different color. I mean, that old Roughnecks logo was sick.
Now that was yeah.
And then they got sued, right?
Yeah,
you can't use the well.
Because Bud Adams is going to be a complete a-hole.
Well, I mean, I don't understand why Houston doesn't own the rights to the Oilers.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't get.
Well, because it was the Tennessee Oilers for
Yep.
at least a season, so I guess that's how he got it because he took everything out of there.
Which makes no sense because Tennessee's not even known for oil, really, as much as Texas.
Well, no, I understand that, but why did he move the team in the first place?
I don't know. I kind of wanted to say that. I never really got a clear answer.
Are you
On that.
talking
I mean,
from
I thought
Houston?
he had good
Are you talking
attendance.
from Houston to Tennessee? Why did
Oh,
he
I
move
think
it?
it was a stadium
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, they couldn't get a stadium deal,
Yeah,
and
it
the
was a stadium
Astrodome was
issue. I
falling
remember.
apart, so they had to find another solution. And Houston did not want to build a new football stadium at the time, so they sent him to Tennessee.
So he winds up going to Tennessee. Yeah, it comes 1 yard from the Super Bowl. I mean, really, that's interesting how that all worked out. 3 years, right? It was 3 years in the
Right.
moving, and then
Yep.
they go to the Super Bowl. And Houston couldn't get past. I mean, I guess they really couldn't get past Cleveland most of the time. Cleveland was the one that would wind up going to the AFC Championship game, and they couldn't get past Denver. So
Yeah, I
at
mean,
least
I
that's
appreciate Art Modell. At least he let Cleveland keep the name. I mean, that was cool, right? He could have taken it. He could have did it, but Adams. I don't know if he could have done it or not. I mean, I don't know what their structure was like that, but it's cool that Cleveland got to keep the Browns, right? It would have been great if Houston got to keep the Oilers. I mean, that really was us, right?
well. The problem is that I mean that was part of the solution for him to get out of town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like they're like, okay, I'll give up the name. Like because obviously Cleveland didn't want to have happen what happened in Houston.
Yeah, I don't
Especially
blame him.
same thing with Baltimore. Like
Yeah.
Baltimore Colts should that name should have stayed there in Baltimore, but
Right.
it's ultimately it's the franchise owners that own the name.
Yeah,
That's
Ultimately,
why
you're right. I mean, it
that
is. It is. Which is
I
sick
dealt with
because
this
you
in
can't
the
tell me
'80s.
one guy should own something that really a whole city gets behind becomes a city. I mean, I understand the legality of it all. I get that, but to me, ethically, morally, whatever, it just doesn't feel good, to do that. If I owned an NFL team, I couldn't just take a whole name from a city. I'd be like, you know what, you guys, were loyal, this, that, and the other. It's your name as much as it is, and I would have said, but at the
But
very
it's
least,
not.
I'm gonna steal a
But you're
thing.
missing the point now. Now it goes the opposite way, where you got to look at it from the owner's side. You guys
No,
aren't
no,
that
that's what I'm
loyal.
saying.
You
You
guys are
are
giving me this
totally
stadium to play in. At the moment they left, Houston said, "All right, Houston, we've got a problem. We don't have a football team here, and we got a lot of people who love football. So
right.
we better build a
But you know
stadium."
what? But even
And
from
guess
a
what? They
business
built a
standpoint,
stadium. They didn't even
right?
have a team, and they built a stadium.
Well, and I get all that. I understand that. I just think what it would have been cool. It would have been like, and then from an owner's perspective, to take care of them, Bud Adams could have said, "Look, I'm gonna give you the name, but you're gonna give me at least 2% royalty rights or whatever it is, that you get off of this." I mean, there's ways that the owners can still keep a little bit of it, but also let the city have it as well, right? I mean,
Hold
they could
on,
have
hold
done
on.
something
I understand. Again.
on
Now
that
I'm
financial end of it.
Now I'm the owner of an NFL franchise, and I've
Yeah,
got the ego to boot. And oh, you don't want to build me? You don't want to build me a stadium? Bye. I got this city over here that's dying to have me.
right, but they
Bye.
didn't want that name, the Oilers. That's why they changed it to the Titans. I mean, they could have left the damn name and still move the damn team.
They could
But I
have, but
get it. It's all
it took
ego
them a
driven.
couple
I
years,
know.
right?
I get it.
Now
It's all ego.
you're just
I
and then
get it.
ultimately, because you'd have to sell the rights to the Houston Oilers to somebody else.
Right.
You can't sell it to the city. It's got to be sold to somebody else. So what Art Modell did was he gave up the rights to the name Cleveland Browns. He couldn't move that. It couldn't be the Baltimore Browns.
Right.
I mean, so
I don't think Baltimore would have wanted that anyway.
no, but ultimately they would have probably changed it. I mean, could have been the Baltimore Royals, or what I mean. It wound up being the Ravens, so it's all the same, anyways. But literally, what I'm talking about is that that's how he was able to help
Oh, of course.
facilitate him leaving
Oh
because
yeah.
he was still under a lease.
Yeah. Yeah, and the city had a little bit of a stronghold on him, which is a good thing for Cleveland because you don't want to take the Browns out of Cleveland, man. I mean, that's a lot of history there to just get. Same thing with Houston. I mean, it's the same because we lost a lot of history, right?
Well, and what really pisses everybody off is when you guys play the Titans on a throwback day and they're wearing the old Oilers uniform.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, ain't that some bullshit? Talk about a classless move on their part, man.
Well, I that is a big middle finger. That is a
It
big
is.
middle finger to that
It just
city.
shows the
I
class
mean,
of that organization.
I mean, it is a
Oh,
middle
it is.
finger, but
It
at
is.
the
And let
same
me tell you something.
time,
When University of Houston, when we wanted to kind of wear that little, and then remember we had to give all that.
I mean, it is a middle finger, but at the same time, that's where the Tennessee Titans organization came from. Houston Texans are an
Oh, you
expansion.
want to claim where you came from? So that's how you treat us?
But I'm just saying, the Houston Texans are an expansion team.
Ain't that a beautiful thing?
They never had like an old uniform to go. The Houston Texans are an expansion team. They're viewed as the expansion team. They never had like an old uniform to go back on. Like the Tennessee Titans, yes, they're the Titans, but they're also the Houston Oilers. They're also the Tennessee Oilers. Like they have multiple generations of football that got them to Tennessee, so they have multiple uniforms they can go back to. Houston Texans, the only uniform change they had, the first 4 years in the league, they had a white helmet. Then they switched to a blue helmet. Now they have a red helmet. That's literally the only uniform they've had in their 21 years in existence.
I'm right there. I understand. I mean, that's why we had the Colt 45s before they came to Astros. We had that nice little throwback to that, which was really cool. But yeah, we lost
See,
a
and
lot of history when Adams left.
I always look at the Astros jersey as the sunset, the sunset, I guess.
Yeah,
The yellow, orange,
yeah.
brown, dark
I got
brown.
that jersey in my closet. I love it. I still love that. It's not an attractive to a lot of people jersey, but it's our history. We rocked that jersey for a long time.
I like the 04. I like the 04 Astros logo.
Oh, the star, is that the one with
the gold star that just has like the line?
I didn't like that one. That was not one of my. I actually have that hat too, and I got it for nostalgia purposes. It's not one of my favorite uniforms.
Probably because I like Jeff.
I still like the old Colt 45s. I even like the Astros where it has the Astro and it's got the lines with the star, like the shooting star that goes across. I like that uniform. I thought that was pretty cool.
All my uniforms
rainbow
have
was
Phillies on it. So all my Phillies uniforms are all Phillies on it. Every once in any alternative jersey I get is like.
I remember when you guys had the blue. Remember it was the blue and the maroon uniform. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yes,
the powder blues.
Powder blues.
Yeah, I like the powder blues.
Yeah, I mean and they still do it every Thursday.
Yep.
I liked it that they had an away Thursday jersey, which was like their practice jersey, the red jerseys with the gray pants. I kind of like that look, the solid reds. Because you can't do an opposite with the red with white pinstripes.
One of the two froze.
The red and the white stripes is that's a Reds jersey.
Oh yeah, the white with the red pinstripes. You don't like that?
The red with the white pinstripes.
Oh,
we have the white with the red pinstripes.
And
so,
have you seen the new Philly City Connects for the year?
I've seen what they said they were going to be, but I don't think those are real.
Are you talking? Which ones are you talking about? The blue ones?
Those blue ones with the weirdo Phillies thing and stuff like that. That would have been more believable. The Phillies are not going to give up on the P. So if they had the Philadelphia P there and Hilly spelled like it was there, I may have had more belief in that being the jersey. I don't think those City Connect jerseys are real. I think somebody came up with that idea of a design and leaked it. And everybody says, "Oh, that's it."
I got City Connects for now. It's like all
I
love It's one of my favorite uniforms. I don't like the blue pants. I like the tops, okay, but I don't like the blue pants that we wear.
I like all the City
Connects. It looks like almost like a gel uniform with a NASA feel on the jersey.
I'm these guys. This isn't basketball. Stop being weirdos with the jerseys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let's. If you want to do a one-game special jersey, just to do it that way, but the City Connect jerseys, I don't want a City Connect jersey. I don't want to buy one.
I'm sending you the one. I just sent you the one in a text message about the one I was talking about. I don't think it's the same one you're thinking. These ones I don't mind.
See, I didn't see this one.
That one I actually kind of like.
Yeah, and that makes, it makes 100% more sense to me
Yeah,
because they're not going to give up on the P. The
yeah.
the first one they had was this blue jersey
They just
that
said
was like
Philly
dark
here, and then
blue.
it had the brotherly love patch over here.
Yeah,
With
no,
the
see,
ball.
this makes a lot more sense to me in general. Because what this is like actually my jersey would become fashionable. I'd be almost be ahead of the game here. I have an old I have a Phillies jersey in Sixers colors.
Okay.
What this is, the hat's in Sixers colors. It's a
Hmm.
darker blue with the red from that and a white stripe. So this looks to me like Sixers colors. I have that jersey, but it says Philadelphia, Phila, almost like the Sixers had back in the day in a baseball jersey with a Mike Schmidt. It
Oh, that's
actually makes
cool.
sense here.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about this, and nobody has any idea how it is that we're talking about it. So I'm gonna share it, and I'll pull it up on the thing here. I gotta just email it to myself.
Oh, Phila.
I love the whole concept of the City Connect jerseys on baseball. I think because a lot of the yes, baseball's a lot more simple than the NFL and the NBA and NHL jerseys, but I thought baseball needed to kind of modernize their jerseys a little bit and just kind of more like make them more fun. I like the City Connect jerseys. I like the Colorado jerseys. San Diego's jerseys are amazing. The bright green and pink and yellow ones that they wear for their City Connects, those are amazing.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just I'm downloading this now so that we can show everybody on here because I do have the capabilities of making that happen. Before we
we have a very good technical program over here at Coast to Coast. Our technical
sometimes
department is one of the best. In some cases, it's revered in the country.
revered. That's exactly what I was thinking. There we go. And this is what we're talking about right here: the Philadelphia Phillies City Connect jersey.
It's not. I don't know if I like all
Like
the
I said,
stars
I
going
like
around
it
the
better than
field.
the other one that they had come up with. The other one
I think
they had come up with was
I think the stars. I think if we actually counted, I think that's 13 stars, which
I'm sure
represents
it would be.
Yeah,
They
that's
which
would have
13
kept
represents
it. They
all
would
of
have
colonies.
the
kept
original colonies.
everything very specific. Um,
I don't know. There's a lot going on in that jersey. I don't know. I'm a simple kind of guy. I like simple jerseys.
what
There's
do
a
you mean?
lot
There's a
going
lot
on.
going on in that jersey.
It's
Well, I mean,
What do you mean?
red, white, and blue with
busy.
stars.
It's just like super busy, right? With the P, and then you got all the stars around. I don't know. It's just a little busy.
It's got a P with stars and it's got a hat with stars. That's all that's on it. There's
And
no
and
words
Wasn't
on
there
it.
something?
and
Wasn't
the
there a logo
number
for the?
and the number on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I
I
like the
think you were too
13
busy.
colonies. I
You
get
were too
that.
busy trying to look at yourself. Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're too busy trying to look at yourself over here rather than you're like trying to peek through behind the picture, like the picture's in your way.
No, no. And that's kind of funny though, Pax. But no, you got one thing over here, then you got one thing over here. I don't know. It's just like I would have been kind of cool if you would just said Phila on it and had 13 stars in the word Phila, or like the little line that goes under Phila, whatever. Like just have Phila on it. Just have that, and then the number on the back would look good. That would have been cool to me.
All right. Well, what's
But
your
it's just like,
you find the Astros one. You tell me what
It,
their
li-
City Connect looks
it
like.
literally
I know
says
what I
it
think.
literally,
We
it
had the
literally
NASA
says Space
uniform.
City on it. It
Yeah, we had
literally
the
says
Space
Space
City.
City on it with a Texas
It's
flag
just
on
solid
it.
blue, and it says Space City and that NASA lettering and the orange little piping down the middle.
Yeah, well, guess what, Jay?
So
You have
cool.
a checkerboard pattern on your sleeves. There's too much going on with the sleeves on that jersey.
Checkerboard
Oh,
pattern.
Checkerboard pattern on the sleeve.
I totally agree with you. So what I think about that apples?
There you go. Cheesy. It's very
I keep
cheesy.
it is cheesy. I told you from the beginning, so I didn't like our City Connects. Freaking hate.
All right. So, anyways, we're at the top of the hour. Let's do our station identification, and we'll be back in just a few moments, right after these messages. mean, you can see right now without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Sometimes, all you need to change your life is a sign. A sign that says, "Hank, this is the place you've been looking for." And sometimes that sign is an actual sign that's mounted to a building. 1 second, I'm looking at a sign. I know what you're thinking, and no, I don't love B-dubs just because I'm a buffalo with wings. Frankly, that's offensive and reductionist. Cause this place, come on. It's like they took beer and made it into a place and then gave that place sports and chicken wings. And the people? Cuba. The best. Oh! What the is going on, Marty? This isn't a game. This is trivia. Yeah, this place is kind of like heaven. You know, without needing to get hit by a bus. Let's go sports bar.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we are back with the second hour of Coast to Coast. You know, I always say that I love that. I'm going to end on with the City Connects here for on this. Yes, you're right. The color blue does not represent Philadelphia, but I will say that when I wear my color blue on Thursdays, the powder blues, I like the powder blues, but I can't replicate that color. I don't have the right makeup, I guess, to be able to do that, as funny as that sounds. So I use this darker blue, and I wear that Phillies jersey that is more in Sixers colors, and it is pretty sharp. I look like Papa Smurf, mind you, because I have the red hair mohawk and I'm blue. You know what I mean? So it's I guess I'm I'm in between, just because I'm getting ready for Marvel Night at the Wings, and I'm going to go as Yondu.
What the hell is Yondu? What is Yondu?
Yondu is he's on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
He's the guy. He's the guy that whistles and the arrow goes all over the place.
Okay. My wife watches that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about Yondu.
That'd be Rowdy Bird if you've seen Days of Thunder.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Rowdy Bird.
Hey, I like how you segued that. Okay, I got you. I'm with you.
And then he was also in Fast 9 as the Dominic Toretto's dad's crew chief when Dominic Toretto's dad died.
Got you. There you go. See, now you got look at that. That was fast. He was fast with that. That's why they call him Stat Guy. He's got all that stuff right there in the middle of the.
I'm telling you guys, a wicked world of ignorance, if just crazy information just swirls around in the brain. It's crazy.
That is why, but that is why I dyed it blonde because the red or the blue doesn't show up well on black hair. So I
Yeah.
had to. That's why I dye it blonde.
I thought that because you said whenever you dyed it blonde, that's when you're getting ready to dye whatever color of uniform you're going out.
It's Philly season now, so I have to. So I needed to bring it back down again. Obviously, I was letting it go dark, and the green shows up well in dark. The orange actually shows up pretty well in dark, but the red for some reason does not, or neither does the blue. So I have to bleach it. All it is I just take it out. I don't dye it blonde. You don't dye black hair blonde. You just gotta bleach it kind
I
of.
just wonder,
So
like, what is the long term effects for Philly sports guys' hair when you bleach it all the time like that? Doesn't that have like long term effects? Like, no, I'm serious, and I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm just saying, like, doesn't the bleaching of the hair doesn't that like make you lose your hair at some point because you're constantly bleaching it so much in between seasons or between
but I'm
teams?
not bleaching it so much. I mean, I bleach it maybe twice a year,
Oh, then I guess that's
maybe.
okay. I guess in my mind, I guess I was thinking you were bleaching it more often because you have so many characters, like you said, that you have to do certain things.
Well, no,
Okay.
that's why I say actually I don't like it when it's dead bleached. Like I just got it done last night. So obviously you're seeing it. Yesterday I looked, dark hair. Now I have blonde
Yeah,
hair.
I know.
That's
Yeah,
what happens. You know what I mean? So, but uh,
and you're doing this
but
yourself? Like you bleach your hair yourself, or do you have somebody do it for you?
my girlfriend does it. My
Okay.
girlfriend's a hairdresser, so
Oh, so
so it was
she's
time.
practiced. She knows all the ins and the outs of the hair game. So
Well, I used to do it by myself, and the problem is that I would never get in enough. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then it's like now I'm burning my scalp more than bleaching my hair. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens. I mean, if you don't know
yeah.
what you're doing, you're burning yourself. You're
Oh,
you're putting
absolutely. Oh, I
bleach
know
on your
that.
body.
Yeah.
So it's better when I do have help. I can do it myself. I
I'll never
just
forget that. I've only bleached my hair one time, Pags, in my life, and I worked for Home Depot at the time, and I was a member of management. And management said, "We're gonna have a solidarity, fellas, and everybody's gonna bleach their hair blonde." I don't know why they want to do this. There's a bunch of young kids up in Wisconsin, and so we all dyed our hair blonde. God, that was the worst experience of my life. But
yeah.
we all look like a bunch of M&Ms running because we're all white kids running around Home Depot. Look like a bunch of M&Ms just all over the place. It's crazy.
That's how he could find you. Bleach blonde
Well,
hair. That's one of mine.
but I do remember that experience, and you're right. If you leave it in too long, oh Lord, that's the worst feeling.
Well, not that like I said, it's not that I do it that often. As I said, maybe do it. I'll do it once now because I'm starting baseball season kind of for me, and
Okay.
then we'll do it again probably in the middle of the season because my hair grows like weeds. My hair grows. So and the fact that all this has been shaved, like I just shaved this, so this is all going to still come out black.
Yeah, at the root level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're getting
So
ready to head down to spring training, aren't you? Aren't you getting ready to head down there for a little bit?
hey, Monday. So this is my last show before I go there. And of course, yesterday I learned about hurling. I got to. Oh my God,
The
I
little
know
broom?
I'm going to kill this. Uh, uh, Natureg. I was with the Natureg. I had to ask like 4 times, like, what are you guys called again? Because I don't speak Gaelic. Uh,
Yeah.
and hurling is a cross between lacrosse, hockey, soccer, and baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unique type of game. Uh, I was actually, I know how to play hockey a little bit, so I was pretty good at playing defense, which is really all I was really willing to do in the first place. Because one, I'm not running around. Two, I don't know how to carry the ball the way they did, so I just kept smacking the ball like it was a hockey ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have a very unique paddle that you're using. So I got myself a jersey. I got myself a hurl. It's called a hurl because, like I said, I didn't even know what it was called initially. Like I thought the hurling was the act that the
Yeah.
stick did. No, that's the hurl. So you're hurling with the hurl, which made more sense to me then. I was like, okay, it's not like you know, I guess that makes sense. It's a hockey stick. That's why you're playing hockey. It's a hurling stick. It's a hurl. That's why you're playing hurling. So it made a lot more sense to me after I was like, ding. But it was fun to do. I probably would have done much more had my back not hurt. So I did get out there a couple times. I ate an edible and went to town and actually.
It's, all, it's
Well,
also the
that was a
oldest.
sport name. Hey, what's the sport name where it's in hot or in the Olympics where they got the big dial thing? It's on a piece of ice and they just kind of slightly like one guy rolls
That's
it.
curling.
Curling. Okay.
Hurling is actually the oldest sport in recorded history. It dates back to 1272 BC.
There you go.
Jeez, they've been hurling.
I know
for a
it's
long time.
3,000 years old.
Yeah.
So I learned the history. It's a Gaelic sport. The way that we were playing in the
Did you play with the
practice.
full 15?
No, the way too small of a practice field. So we played with eights.
Okay.
And actually, I mean, once I got the hang of doing it and I wasn't afraid of like, all right, I'm going after the ball here and I can play hockey. So if I can play hockey a little bit that way, at least I'm going to be worth something on the defensive side, getting the ball out, getting the ball over there until I can figure out picking it up and swinging it at it. Like, because what you're doing is you're actually throwing it up and batting it. And the way that I would hold the thing would be holding it kind of backwards because you want to catch with the ball and kind of do this, but you want to have both hands on it. So it's so not the easiest thing in the world to kind of do to master initially. But it was a lot of fun. And I was the oldest guy on the field by 3 years. But there was like a 14-year-old playing with us and stuff like that. So it was a fun game. It was interesting. High sticking allowed. You're not really hitting. You're not really hitting. Hitting hands is what's happening because you're catching the ball and throwing it up there. You're getting your hand hit a lot.
And I'm assuming the ball is about what, the size of a baseball, or is it smaller or bigger than that?
It's about the size of a baseball, a little bit smaller, and we used this. It was like softer. It's definitely a softer thing.
Right. So it's like made of the same material that you see those weighted baseballs. Like that harder rubber. I don't know.
Is it like the lacrosse balls? The lacrosse balls are like the size of almost like.
Yeah, but this wasn't full rubber. I mean, this was like.
It's made of that same kind of rubber that you have in the weighted baseballs, but there's like other stuff that goes into it.
That it had like a padding around it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if those were just practice balls or regular balls. Like again, trying to picture what I was playing in comparison to what that field looks like. 8 people on that field was a lot.
Right.
They have 15 guys on the field. So I got to imagine that field being much bigger and then being played like as a soccer team would play it rather than because ultimately, like I said, we're on top of each other. Like 8 people, like you have 6 guys on one side, half of the field, and I played back on defense because I didn't want to get in the mix for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't know how bad my back would hold up. 2, I've never played the game, so I'm watching. You know what I mean, and seeing how that's all occurring, and it was, it's running, but not as much as soccer.
Right.
And it was way too tight because there's times you're going to hit that ball. You can hit that ball a good bit, but you want to hit it to somebody. The problem is when you're playing, there's so many people, there's already somebody there. So,
are you guys wearing pads of any kind or helmets or anything?
No, helmets.
So to put it into perspective, a normal field for hurling is about twice as wide as a soccer field.
Twice as wide as a soccer field.
Yeah.
But the length is about the same.
Yeah, so it's 90 meters long. A soccer field is 110 meters long. So a soccer field is a little bit longer, but a soccer field is 72 meters wide. Hurling is 145 meters wide.
Jesus.
Wow.
So it's 145 by 90.
Yeah, because and you're hitting the baseball into a goal, into a soccer goal. And there is a goalie there, but he ain't wearing no pads either. You know what I mean? So there was one guy, he got a nice one right to the chest. It's like
I'm about to say, I wonder how fast that ball's coming at that goalie.
Quick enough.
You could probably hit it more. I mean, these guys are a halfway decent team for the team that actually plays. I think the guy who actually hit it probably hit it at about 40 miles an hour. You know what I mean? He could have hit it much harder. You know what I mean? And I got to imagine in real play, he is hitting it much harder. You know what I mean? So, like 40 miles an hour. The guy had a mark. You know, you could see.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
But it wasn't like
if you're probably going full on out, it's got to be somewhere in the 70 to 80 mile an hour range. I would imagine.
I can imagine.
Pretty hard. I mean,
Yeah, because I from center field, if you have an open hit and you could throw the ball up in the air and hit it like a baseball. Like, I mean, that's like if you have that type of time to do it, which that's the hard part about this, because you got somebody up on you to give you that time. But if you had the time to do that, you could probably hit that ball at like 80, 90 miles an hour. You know what I mean? 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That the real professionals are probably doing just that.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. God,
me playing my first time.
Insane.
Me playing my first time and knowing more about hockey.
Right.
The fact that I was able to, because the main thing with hurling here is that you're using your stick to pick up your ball and then you got it in your hands or on your hurl, where you're kind of bouncing it on your hurl so that you're not running with the ball. And then you're passing the ball one way or another. Sometimes, I mean, they played where you could like bap it with your hand. In essence, you throw it into your hand and you pass it that way. You can't throw it to somebody. But
interesting.
Oh, yeah, it was
stick. That is. Oh, yeah, it does kind of look like a baseball. Oh, that's incredible. It almost looks like a dang axe handle. With this like a spoon, almost like a spoon at the end of it.
Yeah, an axe handle with a paddle at the end.
Yeah, to me it almost looks like it's cupped a little bit. That's why I was saying spoon, but I could see that. That's interesting. Wow, what a sport! You're out there, Pags out there. That's your first time going at it
ever. And there was somebody else who did it.
Duck out of water.
But ultimately, like I said, I could hit the ball like using it as a hockey stick, and because the purpose of the game is to pick the ball up, I could actually, because nobody plays it like hockey, I was able to actually do some stuff. I was able to pass the ball better on the ground because they're not used to that. You know what I mean? So it's like now I got through a lot of people.
Watch ball on the ground.
So, so yeah, it was fun. It was a fun experience. I would love to go do it again. Maybe now without the paint on. You know what I mean? Like, it would be one of those things where I actually run around where my back feels a little bit better and go give it a shot.
You were able to get out there with your back. I mean,
well, like I said, I took the edible. It helped. The edible helped.
Must have been one hell of an edible. Because that's a lot of pain. I'm telling you, that sciatic, that is a lot of pain. That must have been one hell of an edible, man.
Hey, Jay, you can always watch the National Hurling League.
They have
all 35 teams a part of it.
Wow.
What country
invented this?
Well, Ireland. Well, I mean,
is this out of Ireland?
It's in
Ireland.
Originated in Ireland.
Interesting.
I mean, I gotta imagine. I'd be willing to bet that there is a hurling team in your city.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet that there's a Houston hurling team. There's enough of an Irish contingent down there that I'd be willing to bet that there's a hurling team. And you know what? That's part of what I kind of liked about doing this was that, I would never play hurling. Not I would never play it. It's just that I would never know about it to play it. So
I hope I said his name right. We're the Houston Gales. Gaels.
ELS. Yes. We have the Delco Gales that are here.
Houston Gales.
There you go. See, so you have a hurling team, and ultimately, I like when I talk to some of them, they're like, "You're going to go curling." I would love to go curling. So I found out where the curling club is, like, and we have a team. You know what I mean? It's the Philadelphia. I
Yeah,
don't know what
ours
they
is
call
called the
themselves, but
Houston Gaelic Athletic Club. That's what they're
right.
based on. Huh. Guess I'll maybe I'll pop in and say, hey, Philly sports guy sent me over here. What's up?
There you go. There you go. And they're going to be like, "Who the hell is that?"
Well,
Actually,
it's not.
they may not though.
You're from
No,
Philadelphia,
actually, the
right?
guy at Gallery Furniture knew who you were when I was buying my bed. He's like, yeah, I know Philly sports guy. I love that guy. I'm like, yeah, everybody
I am
does.
from Philly.
There's actually a Philadelphia actual hurling division where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 hurling teams just in the Philadelphia area.
I can believe
Wow.
that.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, there's a monster Irish contingent here,
Yeah.
and we get a lot of we have a lot of imports.
St.
So
Patrick's Donegal.
Well, I mean, being on the East Coast, I imagine. I mean,
here
I
we
would
go.
imagine you would.
His league is right up the block from him.
Robert Wardell.
Curling is
I don't
hard. You pull your
groin
groin,
pulls, huh? Interesting. I can see that. I can
but
see that. You
yeah,
probably got to pivot certain kind of ways, and yeah, I can see you would be able to possibly pull that groin if you're constantly doing
just
that. I can see that.
just like yeah, I'm interested in playing cricket one time. So I think that's going to be one of the things I do. If these teams will reach out to me, if these clubs will reach out to me on these unique sports, I'd love to go do it. Yeah, I
Interesting.
would love. I'd love to be competing in a pickleball, a real pickleball tournament. Not right this second with my back, but I'd be willing to bet that I'd be pretty good at that.
Pickleball's fun.
Well, that seems to be the new sport that's picking up traction. Is pickleball. A lot
Well,
of people are
you want to know why? Because
investing in pickleball.
you have the 40 or 50-year-olds that still want to play sports that never played tennis. You know what I
Right.
mean? But have played ping pong. It is adult ping pong, is what that is what I
Yeah, I
kind of look
totally
at it
get
as.
that. Yeah, I totally get
So it's yeah. I love using both hands. I know I'm not even supposed to do that, but I'm like when I'm playing pickleball, like I can play with both hands. It's great.
I think
Um,
Mark Cuban actually invested some money into pickleball.
I
I know
can
he was
imagine
talking about it.
it's a worthwhile thing to invest in. Same thing with like they have that spike ball. I'm not as big a spike
That is
ball
hard
fan.
as shit.
I've
Yeah,
never even heard of spike ball. What is that? Any?
It is basically you get like a little tiny rubber ball that's probably like this big, and you're spiking it off like a little trampoline, and the ball cannot hit the ground. So you can use your hands, your feet, your head, your chest, any part of your body to keep the ball up. You want it to bounce off the trampoline, and you gotta keep it from hitting the actual ground.
and you can only hit it. It's got to be like it's somewhat like volleyball, so it's 2-on-2.
It's 3 hits per the 2 people, otherwise, and you can't double hit it or anything like that.
So the other team is trying to get it to hit the ground, and you're trying to. Yeah, that's the same as volleyball. It's like a hyper version of volleyball.
And it's going to be an Olympic sport this year in France too, so I'm actually curious to see how that actually turns out.
Red ball or handball? I mean, handball's a little different. I know handball some. But yeah, I don't know if where these teams are. Like these teams got to reach out to me. You know, I will definitely go try anything. The Philly sports guy is the total sports guy. I'll go give it a shot. You know, I might look like a fool. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I'll give any sport a try. I don't know if I'd be.
I mean, like I said, I got to be a lacrosse goalie for the professional team.
Goalie for lacrosse.
If I knew how to ice skate, I would actually try to do it with the Flyers one time. But a bocce league, they have one around here. They do have a bocce league here. We have a bocce club and everything. It's a big deal here.
Bocce looks pretty cool. I just saw that on TV the other day. I thought that was a pretty cool sport.
Yeah, I don't know how well I'm doing with that.
Pat, come out there with an overinflated uniform so we can compete.
We have an ultimate frisbee league over here.
So we have ultimate frisbee here too.
That is a fun game.
Yeah, I've not played it. I have not played it.
I'm more of a frisbee golf guy. You give me a frisbee golf type, and I'm good with that.
So
frisbee, that's a lot of running. That's a lot of running. Damn, it's a lot.
Hey, Stat Guy, before you go, I got to ask, why? Why is he? Why? What is Caleb Williams doing that is screwing stuff up?
So Caleb Williams became the first player in NFL history to not take a medical exam at the combine, to not provide any medical records at the combine, and yet he still showed up. So now teams think he's hiding something if he's not taking his medical reports.
Okay.
Interesting. He is crushing his stock before he even. I haven't been sold on Caleb Williams for a while. And it's not because I don't think he's going to be a great player. I think his dad is ruining his career, kind of like what LeVar Ball did with the balls. I think his dad's opening his mouth when his dad should keep his mouth shut, and now his son Caleb is starting to take on his dad's ego. I think Caleb is going to be a Ryan Leaf 2.0. Not necessarily the same kind of problems that Ryan Leaf had, but I think he's going to be a bust. And every chance that he has to prove to the NFL scouts that he's not a bust, he's finding a new way to make himself look like an idiot.
Didn't he at one point say that he wanted to own part of an NFL franchise, whatever the
his dad's been doing that at the combine. His dad's called 5 teams saying, if you draft my son, I want my son to have 5% ownership stake in your team. What team is going to draft your kid and give him a 5% ownership stake before even stepping on a football field?
Yeah, I remember when I saw reports about that, I was just like, this guy.
His dad's an idiot, and his son now is following in his dad's footsteps.
I mean, you get a little bit of NIL money.
I don't know. That sounds like a ploy.
It's got to be, right? I mean,
even if it's a ploy, though, that's not the kind of ploy you want to play.
Well, I'm telling you that he's trying to get on a specific team. And the conversation with that team's a lot different than what's happening here. He's trying to drop in the draft.
Yeah, and the thing that one of the league executives said, the medical portion of the combine is typically the most essential element when it comes to scouting a player. So if Caleb Williams is not doing the medical examination, and if he's not signing off on having his medical records provided, that is a major hit against his stock. Because what is he hiding if he doesn't want to take a chance on him? What is he hiding if he doesn't want his records to be leaked out? Was there an injury that he had going into college that nobody said anything about? Like, what is he honestly hiding if he doesn't want his records shown out?
You know what, though? I mean, first off, I don't even know why he would go to the combine. That's like I said he shouldn't go. I told him he shouldn't go. I didn't tell him, but
he's not even doing anything. He's literally there. He's not throwing. He's not doing any bench presses. He's not doing the 40, and he's not doing medical records. He's literally just there to talk to the media and make himself look like more of an idiot.
No, I think I believe that he's trying to pick his team. And that team is somewhere further down the list.
I know the team he wants, but he's not going to get it.
Who is that?
He wants the Raiders.
Interesting. That would make a lot more sense.
He wants the Raiders, and the Raiders pick 9. So literally that would mean the Bears, the Washington, the Patriots, the Giants, and the Falcons would all have to pass on him heading to the Raiders because they all picked before the Raiders, and they all need a quarterback.
Hey, the only way to do that is to make people really think. I mean, I could tell. I could just tell right away from that story, though. As you're telling me, I'm like, no. There's. I can read between these lines.
He's mentioned the Raiders since basically last year before he could even go into the draft. He mentioned the Raiders were the one team that he's always wanted to play for, and that was before he could even go into the draft. And now he's kind of doing more and more, and he's basically mentioned the Raiders as the one team that he really wants to go for. And if they're picking 9 and there's 5 other teams in front of him that need a quarterback, he's either going to kill his draft stock now so he can fall, or if I'm the Raiders and you know that he wants to play for you, just trade up and get him. not necessarily like trade up to number 1, but go from like number 9 to number 5 just to make sure that he doesn't fall that far, because you always see that where Giants are picking number 6. Maybe the Giants like, Caleb Williams is still here. We're going to draft him anyways, even though he doesn't want to come here. Like, if you're the Raiders and you know he's trying to get to you or trying to make him fall a little bit, trade up to number 5, because then you know that at least the Patriots, the Bears, and Washington all pick in the top 3. Chances are they're going to go with Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals at that point aren't going a quarterback at 4 because they have Kyler Murray. Slide into number 5 and take Caleb at 5.
It sounds good on paper. I don't think he gets past Washington. And I don't care what he does. You know what I mean? I don't think he gets past Washington. But what he's doing is working his way down. That's what he's trying to do in any way possible right now, because he doesn't want to go to Chicago.
He doesn't know. I think he wants to go to
Chicago's looking to trade now, seeing where they're looking to trade Fields. So it looks like I think Chicago winds up taking a quarterback. And if so, is it going to be Jaden Daniels? Or is it going to be Derek May? Because I heard Derek May could be in the top 2.
Drake May, yeah.
I don't know. I would trade out of that pick and steal somebody else's first-round pick for 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. If I was Chicago, I would. I for so many other reasons, you could do that twice.
Because you still have Justin Fields technically for 2 years. He's got his 4th year this year, and then he's got his 5th year option next year. So you could trade out, like you said, get 2 more first-round picks, build as many weapons around Fields as you can the next 2 years, and if he still shows that he's not improving the next 2 years, you still have a first-round pick lined up for when he's done to draft a quarterback. So it's not like you need necessarily.
Well, not only that, but like if you do it right, you're not only getting 2 more first-round picks for 2 more years. You know what I mean? Our first-round pick for 2 more years. You're getting the first-round pick that they had too. You're giving up 3 first-round picks to get that number 1 pick. That's what I would think. That's a minimum. You're giving up 3.
Right.
So ultimately, you're going to still pick, and even if it has at 9, the Bears have got what, 1 and 10?
1 and 9 right now.
No, that's what I say. But Oakland's at 9, or Oakland's at 10.
Oakland's at 10. Vegas is at 10. Bears are 1 and 9. Vegas is at 10.
Right. So, yeah, like I would almost do it twice. You can go all the way back to like figure it's the 7th. If Oakland's doing it, you're gonna wind up with pick 9 and 10, and Oakland's first round pick, for the next 2 years. If they have it like that, I don't even know that they do. I would trade out 9, 10 too. Take one guy. You take one guy and trade the other pick away, and get it. Do the same thing.
Build up draft capital. I just don't think that. I don't think Fields is the guy. I don't give a damn who you put around him. I don't.
Doesn't matter. You know what? You could pick a quarterback. See, at that point, you could go back even one little bit more and pick Penix.
That's where I can see.
Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare say that.
That's that guy's. That's
who I want in Minnesota. Don't you dare say that.
But that makes sense, though.
I don't think it makes sense.
Now you're going back to you're trading away the 9th pick.
Yeah.
Which ultimately could be somebody that would have to jump up, like a Minnesota or whatever. Well, where's Minnesota picking?
11.
Yeah, so maybe that's what they would need to do. Hey, listen, we're going to take him, or you're going to take him.
I definitely think if they did do
that, and I tell you, that makes a lot more sense to me on them busting balls.
Because you can draft a wide receiver. Because you can draft a wide receiver and a quarterback. Get him as wide receiver 1 and get the quarterback in Penix, which is a good quarterback. The only downside to Penix I don't like, and it's because of his injuries, is his lack of ability to scramble and get out of situations where he's not really a running back.
Imagine if you're the Bears and you pick Marvin Harrison Jr. first.
And then came back and grabbed Penix.
Well,
and then Penix on number 9.
Well, I saw another mock draft today that made things really interesting. Bears trade from 1 to 3. So the Patriots go from 3 to 1. The Patriots take Caleb. Washington takes Drake May. Bears get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3, and then they get Rome Odunze at 9. So then you have DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Justin Fields.
Yeah, I don't know that that's.
That's a lot of explosive playmakers, though.
Yeah, but I don't know. Too many egos in that room.
Yeah, but if you got the right coach that can manage those egos, like Phil Jackson
I
did
don't.
with them,
Yeah, that
I don't think
Chicago
Eberflus
coach
is
is
the
not
guy.
that
Matt,
guy.
Eberflus is a moron.
I don't, huh?
Matt Eberflus is a moron.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
know,
Eberflus can
and
do
then you
that.
still got the same problem, the offensive line. As he disappears,
Yeah,
could have at least said goodbye.
yeah,
Gotta go, guys. See ya.
it just comes and goes like a damn tooth hooker. Damn. But yeah,
So I don't know about that. Like I think I'll be honest, I wouldn't surprise me if they, because ultimately it's still a matter of what do you get for Fields. Obviously, if you make it to the draft with Fields,
right.
you can't pick a quarterback. I feel like that's honest to God truth. You can't pick a quarterback. You if you make it to, you either trade him before the draft
Right.
and get a first round pick this year in his place, or you're stuck with him.
Yeah, but I think you pointed out the biggest issue. I'll say even quarterback for the Bears, and that is that offensive line. I mean, it's been an issue for those guys for a hot minute. Like I said, you can get all the playmakers you want, but if you don't buy your quarterback enough time to go through the reads to get the right, or even get the pass off, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So I do see the value of trading back, getting the draft capital, maybe going out and get some offensive linemen. Maybe you get a wide receiver one. Maybe you live to fight another day for a quarterback. Or in this, there is a lot of quarterbacks in the draft, right? I mean, there's several quarterbacks, that you can look at, and maybe get offensive linemen in the second round.
So yes,
I
I
think you get a
think that
first for Fields.
Fields
Yeah,
Fields is worth two. Right this second, he's worth two first round picks. Are definitely a first and a second in the same year.
yeah.
I think that yeah, I think just because of his speed and the ceiling is still way high for him. You know, you kind of saw where the floor is, and you like where there's only up to go here. So I kind of think that's what gives him that first round. Getting maybe two first round picks. I can't see anything beyond that. You know what I mean? Like you could maybe go a one and a two next year with a three, or like with a four and a five this year. Like you're giving up like four picks or two first round picks. Just my opinion on Fields.
I know this is gonna sound crazy, but when we're talking about building up these teams, Mike McCarthy's still out there. I think he's gonna be a lower first round, maybe a second round pick quarterback. What if you bolstered up your offensive line? What if you traded Fields, traded back out of the first round, took all that draft capital, stocked up your offensive line, maybe got you a wide receiver one out of it, drafted McCarthy like in the second round or something, and then see what you could do with Mike McCarthy. And if he doesn't pan out, that's okay. You got next year's draft that you could try to find your quarterback of the future.
What?
That was
Like
a lot to
what?
think
Like
about.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking you're having them trade out of the first round. No, you start taking the best offensive lineman there. Like that.
No, no,
That's
no. What
where
I'm saying is, don't they have? I thought they had two first round picks.
they do.
Right. So if
That's
you
half
traded
of the
out of number
problem
one
is
for
that they
draft
don't have an
capital,
offensive line. Like, yeah, I don't think it's the quarterback is the problem here. The fact that they don't have an offensive line. That's why I would trade back till you get, unless you're going Marvin Harrison Jr. And then if you're going Marvin Harrison Jr., you have to get an offensive lineman then. Because if you want to go that route, if you're staying with Fields, because ultimately I think that you're pigeonholed into that. You're not trading Fields after drafting a quarterback number one or number 10. You know what I mean? So Like if you are drafting a quarterback in either one of those spots, you are not staying with Fields. And Fields stock just dropped tremendously.
I guess I was just thinking, like, in terms of how much draft capital could you get if you got picks for the number one pick if you traded, and then you got picks if you traded Justin Fields as well. I mean, how many
Well,
first round
no, that
picks?
but I'm saying that you have to trade Fields before you get to the draft.
Oh yeah, I'm tracking that, and I think yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
There. I'm with you on that.
the moment that you trade Fields, you are now in need of a quarterback, and you got the first pick in the draft to do it. If you are, like I said, if you go there with him, all of a sudden you need two things. I would need a wide receiver, somebody who's going to be able to get open all the time, and I need an offensive lineman. Now you got to start doing that building right away. So maybe you could trade back to number 9 if you're looking to go over top of somebody to maybe get Penix. Like if Seattle wanted to move up, you could move back that way and grab a bigger a first round pick or maybe a first round next year or get some extra draft capital for that. I don't know how that would work when you're in the number 9 spot, how much that's worth in future picks. But ultimately, you could start picking up linemen because you need offensive linemen.
Oh,
And you know
absolutely.
that those offensive linemen are still going to take 2 years to get to where they got to be.
Yeah,
So,
there's going to be a developmental process for sure. For sure. Especially when because coming out of college and going to the pros, the speed of it is going to intensify even more. So they're going to have to get used to even another level of speed. And then you got to make sure that their hand movements and their placements don't get them in penalty situations or holding situations. So there is going to be a learning curve. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's part of the game.
yeah. And so everybody takes their time to figure it out. I know that the Eagles, when they take an offensive lineman, even in the first round, sometimes they don't expect that offensive lineman to play right away.
Right.
They have to go through Stoutland University. You know what I mean? Just like everybody else
Yeah.
does.
And that's what I
So
was thinking. Like, I think to your point, I would trade Fields. I would trade Fields, get the first round picks for him. Hopefully, you'll get something in, that top 20. I'm sure you will. And then I think you use the first pick in the draft to figure out what quarterback you want to ride with in the future. I like a Jaden Daniels. He's mobile. He can get out of tough situations. He does, but the only thing about Jaden Daniels, and we pointed out last season, with LSU, he had a lot of time throwing the ball in certain spots. But I like Jaden Daniels. I think that guy could be a rock star for them. And like you said, invest heavily in those offensive linemen. Try to find another wide receiver one to go alongside them more.
I think of how many number 1 chosen quarterbacks right now are in the league. Right now, first pick in the draft, quarterbacks. How many are starting right now? Matthew
Well, you're right.
Stafford, was he the first pick in the draft?
Oh, you got to get me go back and looking at it. I know. Well, Bryce Young's starting. We can just start there.
Bryce Young right now. He was the number
I don't know
1,
where Hurts went. Where did Hurts go? He
a
wasn't number
second
one.
round. He was a second round guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jared Goff is 1. He was a first pick in the draft guy. Um, David Carr, was he 1? I mean, I don't know. Like
Yeah. Detroit
I'm
Lions
willing to
in the
bet
first,
that
first
I think
overall.
it
Yeah.
Matt
Stafford was
Stafford.
the 09. Stafford was the 09 number 1 pick for the Lions.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but there's like 3 of them.
3. No. Where was
So
Lamar Jackson? Where was he drafted?
it was Baltimore. I thought that was like 7.
I mean, yeah.
But like first round, uh, the Jets chose what's his face number 2. Who was chosen before him? Um, they chose Zach. I'm gonna see first pick in the draft quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't
Quarterbacks
think there's
drafted number.
many.
Here's
30 seconds.
Bryce Young.
Lamar Jackson was 32nd. Damn, he went way far.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh, shit, I forgot about Trevor.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, no, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Sam Bradford. I don't know who Eric Fisher was, but and for some reason they have Jadeveon Clowney. He wasn't a quarterback, was he?
No.
I mean, that's a little ridiculous. So, I mean, starting quarterbacks right now who were number one picks, Trayvon Walker, not starting, but Joe Burrows, Kyler Murray. I mean, Kyler Murray is like in question mark right now. Baker Mayfield, question mark right now. Myles Garrett's, I don't even know if he's on the team anymore. Jared Goff is. Jameis Winston, I mean, he's backing up somebody. So they don't always pan out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like everything
being
else.
said-
Even like in fantasy football, how many times do you draft number one and then that guy goes down with injury or something happens and he just doesn't? I mean, sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. Like I drafted Nick Chubb, thought he was going to do great, and then he goes down with an injury, and McCaffrey, looks like the best pick at the number one spot.
Well, it's not a matter. We're not playing fantasy football. This
No,
is
we
football
are
for real, and this is finding your franchise quarterback, different type of quarterback than a fantasy quarterback. Somebody who's going to be able to lead your franchise for the rest of his career, because that's kind of what you're trying to do when you find that guy, right? You're trying to make sure that he's got a 15-year career all with your team.
Kyler Murray, I think.
Yeah.
Where was he drafted? Wasn't he drafted at number one?
Number one. He was the number one pick in the draft.
Yeah, 2019.
So that's why I said I just gave them all to you.
Yeah, I was just double checking. I was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, it was not many at all.
So I mean, there's a piece of me that believes that if you are stuck with Fields, if you can't trade Fields by the time you get to the draft, your first pick is the wide receiver. You know what I mean? You do that, and then your second pick is the offensive lineman, because Marvin Harrison Jr. is not making it past number 3, and you don't need a quarterback. Why bother with it right now? There was no real standout. Everybody thinks Caleb Williams is it, but we already heard one guy who thinks he's going to be a bust. Chances are that he's going to be more of a bust than he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
What do you think? What do you think JJ McCarthy gets drafted? At what point? Second round? Late first?
Who is he?
Touche.
But we always. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about that.
Well, Michigan. I mean, obviously he won the national title with them, so he's obviously not the flashy quarterback that the Drake Mace like that. I mean, he's more of a game management style quarterback, right? But who's to say where he's going to wind up, right? Brock Purdy. We've seen examples of guys that we probably would have said when they got drafted, well, who was that? Now we know who they are. Who said that JJ couldn't possibly develop?
This becomes the problem with the NFL in general. Like everybody wants, automatic gratification. We got the quarterback. He's going to lead us. It never used to be. Like it was rare when your quarterback or your rookie quarterback started, but now it's like they have to be Patrick Mahomes out of the box, out of the box. Patrick Mahomes.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if you pick up let's say the Bears picked up McCarthy in the later rounds or whatever. Could that be somebody that maybe they could develop into something behind what they're already building, where he doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the NFL. He just has to get the ball to all the good players that they drafted ahead of him and let those playmakers be the playmakers, right?
If you could get him in the 4th round or late 3rd, yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like maybe if he slides that far, if I was them, if he slides down to 3rd, I'm gonna take a flyer on him and see if I can develop him into that guy.
Well, yeah, and then you're trying to you're pulling a page from the Andy Reid playbook
Right.
where you are investing in your future by drafting a quarterback in the
Right.
3rd round that will ultimately be a 1st round pick in 2 years. He's worth
Yeah.
a 1st rounder in 2 years.
Yeah.
So that puts you into the quarterback factory business. Uh the Bears ain't got that.
And I agree.
He ain't got a quarterback factory. And that's the problem. You need the mechanic to be the one who's pumping out the quarterbacks,
Right. Because
and
I don't even
that's
know if
the
the
hard
Bears have
part.
the developmental staff to develop, a McCarthy into that.
Yeah, that's what that becomes. I mean, the reason why Andy Reid would do that is because Andy Reid could get that quarterback ready, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but
Which is another reason why
ultimately,
Andy Reid is, one of the best coaches out there, I'll tell you, no doubt.
but that was part of the the plan that we're going to pick a quarterback in the 4th round, late 3rd, early 4th, depending on how well we do. If we got the 31st pick in the draft, in that 3rd round, that's 93. Now it's even maybe different because of all the extra picks that people get and stuff like that. But ultimately, that you know, you still got, it's like you still got to take the, whatever you can. I don't know. I don't know. I lost what I was talking about.
Hey, maybe that CBD's kicking in on the back
That's
end.
what it is. The back stopped hurting. I was like, I had CBD started. I had a thought process and it disappeared. It was like poof.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it's like after playing hurling yesterday, I went and I did an interview this morning down in the city. So it's like I was running around all day today. It's one of those days. But
Yes, well,
anyways, hey, listen, we're at the top of the hour anyway, so we made it through 2 hours and another week of Coast to Coast. On Monday, we are going to be replaying an episode, so we're going to be playing the Hater episode. So definitely tune in if you didn't see that one. It was a fun one to watch. Then, and we didn't really talk about sports, so it's something that we could absolutely redo again. As I'm traveling to Florida, so we're going to have 2 guys on vacation at the same time, but we're going to be back here. I'm going to be doing my show here, maybe from the beach on Tuesday in Miami.
don't
So
forget April 1st.
April 1st is coming. We're going to start putting it out there now. The code's going to get done. So the hater show is absolutely going to happen. We were talking about haters today, how fun they are to deal with. But everybody, thank you again for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again on Tuesday.